welcome to Seen Through Glass. Welcome to the quite large Audi RS Q8. It may surprise you to hear me say that I've been quite excited about having a go in this car. It's the most powerful RS model Audi have ever made, but it's the first time they put an RS badge on an SUV. Let's face it though, fundamentally this is a Lamborghini Urus in the same way that an R8 is effectively a Lamborghini Huracan. And whilst I didn't really gel with the Urus, I did kind of enjoy it. And a softer, more usable, slightly more understated Urus could be right up my street. But I found a very yellow Urus to park behind right now, just to kind of see how these two visually compare, and also whether the RS Q8 can have the same kind of presence as its cousin, sportier Italian brother. I don't really know how to name this relationship. Anyway, I don't think this car is special because it looks good parked up in Belgravia, even though I think it does look good parked up in Belgravia. Fundamentally, this thing is about how it performs on the open road. So yes, let's get out of the city and go and find some open roads. Quite foggy out here, which I have to say is not the ideal weather to be test driving a car that can go as fast as this one can. But anyway, I did say that this is the most powerful RS model Audi have ever made, but that's not quite right, because this car does share the same engine and power output as the new RS6 and RS7. We've got a 4-litre biturbo V8, around 600 horsepower, around 800 Newton meters of torque. So yeah, all three cars are the most powerful RS models Audi have ever made, but this is the first RS SUV, RS Q from Audi, which kind of surprises me, because, you know, RS stands for ultimate performance for Audi, and I imagine SUV stands for ultimate sales. As with every manufacturer, big 4x4s is what everyone seems to want. But I guess the purist would say, well, can you actually make an RS SUV? Why not? Everyone else seems to be doing it. The DBX, the Bentayga, the Urus, the Cullinan. I mean, it's all the rage right now to have these super hyper SUVs. Personally, I've never been a huge fan of really quick 4x4s. I think personally I want my bigger cars to be luxurious, comfortable, practical, and I'd probably save the money, get a less powerful version, and whatever's left over, buy a cheap sports car for the weekends. But that's just me personally. I have to say, this RS Q8 does seem to do super comfort and super performance very well, unlike its brother the Urus, which could never relax in my opinion. It just was always so highly strung, even in its comfiest setting. You know, the gearbox could never figure out what to do. The ride seemed so harsh. It wanted to launch off every light. It was loud. I mean, it was a Lamborghini, which you kind of have to applaud, and is why I actually quite like that car, because it was most definitely a Lambo. But shockingly, this car, which is essentially exactly the same but with a different body, seems to be able to sort of cruise along and just kind of waft down the road so well. But as I mentioned, it's got 600 horsepower, so when you need to or want to, it can do this. Whoa. I'm struggling to compute what's going on right now. The thing is, no matter how outrageously fast this thing is, and it's not even like a rocket ship, it's like a battleship, because you can't get away from the weight. I mean, the thing is big, and by the time you reach any kind of corner, you want to have knocked off a lot of the speed that you gained on the straight. Because yeah, I just do not want to throw this thing around the corner. I'm not really sure what would happen. I imagine I'd understeer into a hedge. Maybe I'd be surprised, but on a foggy day like today, I'm not willing to take the risk. So it's all about long, elongated, smooth accelerations where you just build and build and build the speed. This thing would destroy a long journey across the continent. On my way to Croatia, off we go. I mean, I'd be there in about half an hour. It just picks up pace so outrageously fast. But yes, then you see a corner and you go, oh no, sorry, let me slow that down. It's not just the weight as well, it's the size of the thing. I mean, I can't even go to my usual roads today. I've had to come to some opener, longer, wider, flowier ones because this thing just takes up so much space on a British road, and that can be hard to get used to when you're carrying insane speed. But as you probably noticed, it's quite quiet. I mean, I'm going to try and come down through some gears now, but there's not a lot going on in the sound department, and that's going to be a common complaint with many of these cars. And you know what, it adds to the sort of comfort and luxury version of this car. But now I'm in dynamic in its kind of sportiest settings, I think I want a bit more volume to kind of, you know, tell me that I'm in the sporty settings. Now I think if I press this RS mode button here, it increases the noise in the cabin. Artificially sure, but who cares? There we go, getting a bit more of that V8 rumble. It's such a mad car, this car, because all of that craziness, all of that terrifying speed can kind of be dialed out by just flicking a couple of switches over here. Oh, I say a couple of switches. What is with all these manufacturers and these touch screens? I hate them. They're so distracting and they never really work that well. I spend most of my time looking down here trying to work out what to push. Dials and buttons you can just do. You can focus on the road and you can feel your way around them. Touch screens, you don't have that. Anyway, so I've somehow navigated my way into comfort. I don't even really know how. Back into drive, and then, oh, what a nice place to be. I've got massage seats, this beautiful Audi interior design, which I think they are leading the way at the moment, Audi with that. The lovely Alcantara RS steering wheel. And then I've still got the kind of, the presence, the road presence, the feel to know that I'm in something sporty. What on earth just happened there? The car nearly launched me into a hedge. Oh, I've got bloody lane assist on. Bugger off. That was dangerous. Wow. Make sure you don't have lane assist on a country lane. Disaster. How do I, maybe if I just hit RS, is that going to just put me straight into dynamic? No, I'm in RS comfort, so hold on a sec. Oh, this is so complicated and it's still foggy and dynamic. S for now, RS, there we go, okay, and then manual. And floor it. Whoa!
Stone Cold Stunner. She was a winner, started working at the diner. It serves as a reminder to count your blessings, cause this town ain't fair. They'll put you down and leave you there, don't make them scared.
Well, I'm back in London and I've come to realise, as brilliant and as hilarious as this car was in dynamic mode, it's actually at its best in its kind of auto setting, where you just kind of let it figure itself out. Because let's face it, this is not a sports car, this is a sporty SUV. It's not a car you're going to wake up on a Sunday morning and go for a drive-in. It's a car you're going to be using day in, day out for quite mundane tasks, and therefore the appeal is knowing that the power is there should you need it, rather than seeking out opportunities to use it. And so I don't know how often you're going to go into dynamic or RS mode. You can just leave it in auto, and when you need to absolutely punch it away from the light or do a crazy overtake, the car will do that. But the rest of the time when you're in town, you get a nice V8 gargle, the steering is light, so despite the fact that, as I mentioned, it feels like you're driving a tank, it's so big, it's actually quite easy to maneuver. You're just getting the best parts, all the best parts of the car. And you might be saying, well, at that point, Sam, if you're not going to be using all the power, why not just get a standard Q8 or an S Q8 and save a bit of money? And you know what, you make a good point. I think we have to remember who this car is aimed at, because it's really for those people who are already considering a Urus or a Bentayga or a Cullinan. And at that point, it kind of becomes the Golf GTI of the hyper SUV world, because despite the fact that it starts at over 100 grand, that's 50, 75, 100 grand cheaper than some of its rivals. And if you turned up to a dinner party in this car, those who know will be like, oh, cool, RS Q8, nice. Those that don't know will just go, oh, that's a very good looking Audi SUV. And if you turned up to that same dinner party in a Urus or a Cullinan or a Bentayga, someone at that party is going to think, he's a It's just going to happen. You can't escape it. As cool as you might think you are, it's true. And whilst, you know, someone might also think you're a for spending 100, 120 grand on an Audi, well, you could just smoke them at the lights. And then, you know, they can't deny how amazing and hilarious this thing looks going as fast as it does, or it can. So I just think it's a win-win scenario. I guess the only thing that you're going to potentially lose is well, how many girls can you fit in the back at the end of a club night? Because I feel like the Urus is still going to win that. They're all going to pick the Urus, aren't they? I guess. I don't know. But I think your family are going to pick this because it's just a nice place to be. And you've saved a bit of money, so you can probably eventually go on holiday when we're all allowed to do so. So, yes, as you can tell, I have really enjoyed this thing. And it is unbelievably fast, and that's really it. It's straight lines, it's motorway journey fast. It's not revolutionary in the way that it goes around corners, I don't think. A lot of cleverness that's happened, but it's just about just a really nice luxury hyper fast SUV. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps share the video around YouTube, makes other people see this video and the channel, so I'd really appreciate it. And make sure you stay subscribed or subscribe now for plenty of videos still to come.